Ladies and gentlemen, hello again, and welcome back to Don't Worry About the Government. My name is Chris Novembrino. I am feeling fresh. I have no problems. I am over the Nashville incident, as it has become known here in the house. Today, in an effort to stick it to Cody, I'm enjoying a refreshing and crisp ginger ale. It's brisk, it's zesty, it's zingy, and Cody seems very stupid, and I feel crisp and cool. Summer's coming in, Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Doing well. That ginger ale sounds delightful. I'm enjoying a nice mint yerba mate over
Nice,
here.
nice. I enjoy
Getting a
those.
little caffeine in the system on what's going to be a very hot Saturday morning here in California.
What's the temperature coming in at these days out there?
This Memorial Day weekend, we're looking at some nice 90s to close out May, which is not good. It's
Texas
we're
went from like you could have your windows open at night and like it was super mellow and like in the like high 60s to yeah, like we're coming into just, oh hey, it's June. I'm back. Yeah.
yeah.
The days are long, the heat is up, and summer is here. If you're going out this Memorial Day weekend, do be safe. The coronavirus is still out there, waiting to get you around every corner. No, it's not that bad. I mean, the numbers are going down. We got some positive news to talk about that on that front. First, I was hoping to have a rather robust discussion about this here on the show, because it lit up our little convo thread, our show coordination convo thread that some use for show coordination, others use to work some things out. But we were talking about this week, would you rather be a governor or a senator? And Dan, were you a senator or were you a governor?
Uh, I I did a little bit of fence sitting and
You
on some
hedged.
particular. It depends. Yeah, it depends what governor, what senator. Like
Well, yeah.
I'd I'd rather be a Gavin Newsom than a Ted Cruz.
It's a heck
Uh,
of a visual right there.
I mean, like, or but like I mean,
So wait,
you have a
are you
career like
saying
Mitch.
that you actually have to be the person? I was just talking about
No,
occupying the office. No, I, I,
no,
I
no,
would
no.
literally would rather be any governor or
It,
senator other than Ted Cruz.
I think most would rather be anything but Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I would generally go with the executive, the governor, just a lot more um, far spread and diverse powers. A senator, you certainly have a lane, and you might not be term limited, so you could potentially reign for longer than my lifetime, like Mitch McConnell. But the governor, I feel like I could throw my weight around a lot more. I don't know, if things were getting wily, I could like shut down trade on the Western Seaboard or something fun.
Yeah. I was very surprised with the results of the poll, which was the original thing that started the conversation, where Senator won out fairly handily, like 45 to 55, I think was like the kind of final total, maybe like 47 to 53. But like Senator won out. And to me, this is a no-brainer. You want to be the governor, not the senator. I think maybe the strongest argument for senator would be, imagine, if you will, Chris, a Donald Trump type presidency, and Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell are putting out all of this terrible legislation. You, as a senator, would have the opportunity to stop it by filibustering. To which I would say that would only be true if, and this is a very big if, this would only be true if, one second. Hey, what's going on? I'm actually taping my radio show right now. I'm taping my radio show upstairs. Yeah. Sorry about that. That was my neighbor, and the yelling would have continued through the window for probably several minutes, and she would have heard me otherwise. I will fix that on the audio version. For the video version, I apologize. All right, so to reset here, if we're thinking about a senator's powers under this corrupt administration, like a Trump McConnell 2 sort of scenario, right? If you're a Democratic senator, you might go, well, I could veto it. I could filibuster it. I could do all sorts of things to kind of get in the way, not veto, filibuster. I could stand in the way of this legislation. I think it's very clear that Mitch McConnell would absolutely 100% like change the filibuster rules to get around whatever proposed filibuster you would do. So the only way you could really nerf McConnell and Ryan and all that would be basically to take the McCain route. You'd have to be a Republican senator.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would
you
be the
gotta
move.
be you gotta
You'd
be
have to
inside the
sabotage.
house.
You'd have to be sabotaging from the inside as a John McCain type. So if you want to be a Republican senator and do that most, or Murkowski, maybe you could sort. I mean, actually, I think this is fair to say. You can argue that Murkowski. It's why I prefer Murkowski by a lot to Joe Manchin. I've actually given money to Murkowski's reelect because she actually does stuff that stops the Republicans from doing the worst things they could do. Whereas Joe Manchin tends to actually serve to enable them. And so, like, if you were actually going to sabotage a would-be Republican caucus, you'd have to do it from the inside. Now, from that seat, you could screw a lot of things up. You could get onto like the Senate Foreign Relations Committee or something like that and basically stop them from doing all of like the crazy FOPO stuff. You screw up their numbers and always vote with the Democrats. This is going to work until you get tossed out of the Republican caucus, which you will
You could
most certainly get.
could Ron Paul it without the anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but like you're gonna get Liz Cheney'd real
Yeah,
fast here doing this stunt. Yeah,
absolutely.
no, like whatever your move is, you get like one or two of them, and then you're gone. You're absolutely 100% gone. So the senator's impact super limited. If you're a centrist fetishist, being a senator is awesome. So like Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, like we hate them on this show. Not every listener, obviously. But like we hate them on this show because what they are doing right now, I will give them credit for. Like I hate them, but I can respect what they're doing right now. They're maximizing their leverage. They are the reason I hate them so much is because both of them are desirous of and have really been seeking to have as much control over over the Senate as possible by dictating the politics of the possible for the Democratic Party. If that is the type of power you seek on a national level, a governor's got nothing on you. So I will grant that for the senator. However, for a governor, like, I'm thinking about Texas here. So like this to me this is why it's a no-brainer. I'm replacing Greg Abbott, ghoul of a governor. Now it's Governor Nove, best governor we've ever had, second best governor next to Ann Richards. I'm not gonna dog Ann here. Let us be proud of her. But no, second best governor, wearing the cowboy hat, riding around on a horse, just shooting shit randomly. Like I'm Texas. I'm trying to get reelected here. So like I'm now the governor. I now have say over what goes into the education books. I now am able to veto what the Republican legislature is doing. I'm able to issue emergency orders. I'm able to stop it's going to be different from constitution to constitution. I'm able to stop my stupid state attorney general Ken Paxton from challenging the election legitimacy results up at the Supreme Court. I'm able to stop the Texas education books from going out all over the country and rewriting history effectively for the entire nation. Like as the governor of Texas, I just have so much more ability to affect, in my opinion, real world lives, and the lives of the people in my state, obviously, but also even nationally. And, in a lot of states, a power that many governors have is the special appointment power to appoint senators. So, like, you even get a little bit of senator stroke if you want it too,
Yeah,
depending on where you are. So, I thought governor is sort of a no brainer.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I there's just certain if you're willing to uh, Bloomberg or Roosevelt it and rewrite the rules to extend your term limits indefinitely, I think you could uh, govern your way through for the rest of a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and not every state has that limitation either. Like in Virginia, you can only have one term. Like you can't have consecutive terms, which is actually kind of cool. You can run for re-election again, but you can't have consecutive terms and have the incumbency thing going for you. So, like, I tend to think Governor Trump's senator in this sense. But interesting conversation. In talking with other people took the question. Were just like, well, senators don't work, so I'd rather be a senator. And I was like, isn't that essentially saying that like being a governor is clearly more powerful?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, senators occasionally have to go to DC, which is a swamp. Whereas if say it's sitting in governor of California, I can just hang out in Sacramento. I can head
Dude, I
over
bet
to
you the governor of
Napa.
Montana just has like badass views every day. It's big
Abs-
sky country. He's probably got like a
Absolutely.
really cool house on a hill that he's hanging out on and just like looking out. And there's like some buffalo and stuff. There's no swamp.
Yeah, yeah. Some nice, actually, a upper Midwest or Rocky Mountain governor, maybe like a Montana governor or Idaho sounds real nice. Like minimal number of people that I'm actually responsible for. Uh,
Mostly just land stuff. That most
yeah,
of my issues that for governing is like land management, a lot of agrarian issues. I would love to manage a lot. Managing agrarian issues seems fairly low stress in the terms of state administration.
sure.
Yeah.
It would actually be pretty close to like I feel like it would be being governor of Idaho's probably not that far off from like a Sim City or a Tropico, like a sim game, just because of the degree, like uh the amount of agriculture, the amount of like those there's big land plots that you're just like it's probably not that big of
You
a
don't have
system.
to sit. It's
Yeah,
beginner level SimCity where you just have the industrial like in one part of the map and the commercial in another part of the map and the residential over there, and
yeah,
you never think about maybe having mixed purpose zones or yeah. Why would I do this? What would possibly be the point of it? You drive to the city, you live in the house. Yeah.
yeah. This
We have
is the
factory people. And
workplace. This is the house place. Yeah,
I was a great city
we
planner.
have we have the college place. It's called Bozeman.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So quick check in here on Joe Biden's job approval ratings. Remarkably steady. And also basically it's like take Trump's old approval ratings and invert them, and that's just like where we're at as a country now. Like Trump used to hang out around 40.8% approval rating and 53% or so disapproval rating. It's now inverted. Um, it's basically what you would expect. Um, I mean, I think, it also increasingly makes me go, I guess I guess polling doesn't really serve as that useful of a metric anymore for thinking about how an electoral like how an election would actually play out. Because like, yeah, no, I think Biden, obviously, if we had an election, it was a popular vote election, Biden's gonna win it like 10 times out of 10 at this point. I mean, his margin of winning in the last election was so sound. Nearly 10 million votes that I think if, even if you had a lower turnout election or whatever, the Democrats can pretty much rest assured that they're going to win most of their elections in a popular vote setting. The issue is electoral college map, which is much, much more narrow. And this sort of polling tells us basically nothing on that front. The disparity between approval rating, how a popular vote would play out, and the electoral college, like that disparity just continues to grow. And
I think that
it's why we
also
don't talk about the approval rating very much on the show. Someone asked me that the other day. I wanted to include it this time, and that's the answer. Like it's not like I cared about it when Trump was president, and I don't care about it now. It's that like my opinion on job approval as a rating like has really dimmed because I don't think it tells us a whole lot useful when it comes to thinking about what would happen if we had a snap election tomorrow, for example.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't, it's such a generalized kind of metric too.
Yeah, I mean, I
It,
you
fe-
know,
it feels very soft science.
it does. Here's the thing: with a baseline this static, I mean, if you look at this over 6 months, I mean, like it is just chilling at 53. If there was a big deviation from that, that probably would tell us something, just because this is like a straight line. If we saw like a
This has
valley,
become
you'd be like
sure.
discrete event happened, or if it went up, like like Joe Biden like strangled zombie Bin Laden with his bare hands or something like that, we would expect to see like it go up 10%. Something like that. But like, or Hunter Biden, Joe Biden names Hunter Biden to be his VP, probably would expect the approval rating to drop down a little bit.
I mean, our percentage of breathless news coverage has definitely declined. I feel like in the
That's the other thing too, is I think people are very happy to not have to worry about. I mean, like, look, it's nice to go into one of these holiday weekends and not have Trump feel the compulsive need to say something absolutely fucking crazy.
we
Going,
aren't
there's there.
we aren't on the brink of war with anyone.
He
Like
he did
yeah,
Fire and Fury. I know that that wasn't Memorial Day. That might have been Labor Day, but I know he definitely did like a controversy going into a 3-day weekend for the average American. Just because, like, even when you're on vacation, Trump wants you to be thinking about him constantly. It is nice to be rid of him. But I also think, yeah, like it makes what there are many negatives to it, and this is a lesser negative, but it's still a negative. It makes job approval not really that useful of a metric.
sure.
Moving on next. This is just a quick one here. I'm gonna share screen on the notes here. Just a thing that stuck out to me this week. Here you got a Marine holding the door for Gianna Floyd, the daughter of George Floyd, who was murdered last year in a very vivid way, as she was walking into the White House here. This is just like a picture says 1,000 words little moment for me. Like the image gave me chills this week. Obviously, there is the symbolism of a white male member of the military and stuff actually holding the door open and letting a young black girl into a place of power, the White House, and all of that. But like, I mean, really, kind of even more basically, I was just struck by like this is an image that I 100% would never see during a Trump administration. Like,
Sure.
like Bush, maybe. Trump, not a chance. And if that dude had been reelected, there's no way that the Floyds would ever. The Trump would have kicked the Floyds off of the White House grounds if he could have.
Yeah. And that that also is a picture that doesn't include Donald Trump, so it wouldn't have come out of the Trump
Right,
administration
right,
at
right.
all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Like if
There's
anything,
no
it would have
Joe
been
Biden here. You're right. Yeah, it's not about Joe Biden per se.
if for some reason they found like that meeting to have been beneficial to him or his campaign and they actually decided to do it, it would be something like it would be either Trump or it would be Ivanka holding the door, or it would be a much more Trump centric
Trump would want
sort
to be
sort
the
of
person holding the door to get the steam. Whereas like this,
yeah.
this was sort of like buried. And I just saw it this week. It was like, whoa. Like again, it's small. I get that. I get and like obviously it does not undo what was done to George Floyd.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not trying to say it like that. I would certainly would never try to cast it like that. But it is emblematic of a difference between the two candidates in the last election here. And like, yeah, to your point, Biden's people didn't feel they didn't like push this out there. Like they didn't go out of their way to. They're not really using this as a publicity thing. I mean, if you hear about this on another show this week, I'd actually be surprised. Um,
I did see it go. I did see it go around Twitter a little bit.
yeah, I went around Twitter a little bit, but that's
I
about it.
I heard. I mean, I heard it briefly mentioned that the Floyd family had was meeting with Biden, but it wasn't. I didn't see it really.
This is not a
It
Trump
wasn't
carries the
capitalized
Bible
on.
out in front of the church and holds it
Yeah,
upside down, sort of like we are doing this to make sure that you get this image out, sort of
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
It definitely feels less performative because there's like relatively competent people,
And like these are also like this is a sort of normal
and they're
thing. Like
yeah,
if the Floyds were walking into the building, yeah, like a Marine would hold open the door for her. Like like this isn't. There's not. I mean, it's like literally every visitation to the White House is staged. So if you're going
yeah.
down, if you're barking up that tree, okay, like it's all theater at the White House. But like this is not uncommon for any other sort of guest at the White House either. It's not like,
It
it's
doesn't
not like
have
the
the sort.
guy's laying on his belly and asking for Gianna Floyd to walk over his back or something.
Yeah, it doesn't have the kind of clown makeup on that like the that every media event had for the last like 5 years.
No, Trump with the McDonald's thing, right? Like,
Yeah, the
yeah, yeah,
handsome hamburger dinner.
yes, yes. No, and it had to be presentational. And yeah, like we had it couldn't just be no, it had to be a thing. Yes. Um so speaking of aesthetics, Biden ousted 4 members of the Commission of Fine Arts this week, which like this story just cracked me up. That's why I included it. This is also not a particularly weighty story. This is just funny. So they were tasked with matters of advising on design and aesthetics. Like, God, I wish I could be on this commission so badly.
Yeah.
So badly.
As someone who works essentially in architectural aesthetics, like outdoor landscape aesthetics, that is my entire jam. Uh, I want nothing. Want no one that Trump ever appointed as an
No, 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 no,
aestheticist
no, no,
touching
no.
anything.
So this is a big flex from Joe Biden that I wholeheartedly encourage.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, no, because Trump's sense of aesthetics are gaudy as hell. Like, look at Trump Tower. Not like the outside, the inside. It's ugly as shit.
Yeah.
He has French dictator like taste, like which are gaudy. Dictators have horrible aesthetic taste. In addition to being fascist, they also generally have no swag.
Nobody's ever able to give them that like negative feedback that you like. I mean, so you don't want to bully someone, but like if your friend looks bad, you gotta let them know. Like
But if your friend can
nobody's yeah,
can just disappear your ass, you're not going to do it. And
absolutely.
I really do think that dictators need better friends.
That's the
Kim
only
Jong
issue
Un,
with dictators.
like I'm sorry that the thing with him and Des Rodman's not kind of tighter at this point because I think that like Kim could really use a good friend.
He needs like maybe him and a Wahlberg. I think they could have like fun together.
Marky Mark is he's a fun one.
Yeah.
Got a funky bunch with him too. So Trump signed an executive order last year requiring quote beautiful architecture as the preferred style of federal buildings. I
Lot of gold
beautiful,
leaf, lot of
beautiful is
yeah.
not like postmodern, not brutalist.
I
Beautiful.
like you know what I like. I like my art good, Chris.
Yeah, good art. I
You
like
know,
good art.
my music. I like my art good. I like my music good. I like my food good. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no. People people ask me what type of music I make and what type of music I like, and I'm often like, "Oh, it's just, not crap." I just generally I like not crap. I make not crap, and that's great. Yeah. So, in other good news, it's not all a hate fest every week. There will be a little bit on that with Biden here. He's definitely not having a perfect week. But half of the adults in the United States of America are now vaccinated against the coronavirus. This is a major milestone in our country's vaccination efforts, said Andy Slavitt, the White House senior advisor on the COVID-19 response. The number was 1% when we entered in January 20th. Joe Biden has sent a goal of 70% of adults receiving at least their first dose by the 4th of July. And now nearly 5 billion adolescents have also received one dose of the vaccine. So, look, Biden gambled with reopening schools. The gamble paid off. Biden set this goal of getting the vaccinations going. It's going well. I think it's a lot easier to get to 50% than it is to get to 70%. And I think that now becomes the hard sell of getting people to actually go and get the shot. There are
It's been down. We've been doing downhill momentum up to
but th
this point.
there are also other places though where I see real potentials, right? Like Latinos, the extremely high number of Latinos who thought that you had to pay to get the vaccine.
Sure.
So that just speaks to me to be an informational campaign. You know, there is now a push to enroll people in a lottery, and you could get into
Well,
the
that's
COVID lottery.
we had our first lottery drawing here in California. They
Did
had their
you?
first lottery drawing in I believe Wisconsin this past week. Uh,
It is
some
it's working, and so I'm willing to go with I think, I think it's better to just give people $20 or whatever to go and get their friggin' shot. Like,
yeah,
there's
a
something kinda
guarantee a
gross to me
guarantee.
about, yeah, gamifying a vaccine.
Sure,
Um,
but if I think an issue with like the 20. I mean, there's probably a way to do it safely, but you also don't want people trying to like fraud their way, like getting an extra $20, getting like
yeah,
soaking up a couple of doses.
that you know what? That's an interesting point too, is that the lottery system, it incentivizes people to get it, but it really doesn't create a great incentive structure to
To
sit and
cheat.
seriously try to fraud the system. Because like, okay, now I have 3 lotto tickets. Um,
That's
yeah.
there's a fundraiser that I'm trying to put together right now, and for the service organization I belong to, and we're trying to gear the prizes like a thread and needle of making things like fun enough that people want to participate, give people the incentive to participate, but we want to be able to decentralize it, not have to watch everybody during this mini golf tournament. So like you don't want the incentives to be good enough that anybody would want to actually cheat.
Yes,
Like
right, yeah, 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 no, 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 like, I
you need to
mean,
hit a sweet spot for the honor system to be good. Like that's
as
why
I get older, this is the sort of nut, like public policy nut stuff that I get really into. Like, because I do think this is people are complicated. People do shady shit, and you need to be able. You want to still do good while anticipating people doing shady shit. Don't be like a conservative and go, well, people do shady shit, so we shouldn't do anything. But I like the challenge of no, people will do shady shit. Let's think about all the shady shit they could do, and how do we do that so we can keep doing the good thing, and
yeah,
also keep an eye out for the bad bastards.
absolutely. It's
Uh,
it's fun.
I think
Government,
it's
this is
fun.
fun.
I think it's fun. Understanding people is complicated, and thusly, it's thusly fun. Maybe
Yeah,
sometimes.
absolutely.
Not fun. The Biden administration defending a Trump era oil and gas project in Alaska. The administration declined to explain how its position on the multi-billion-dollar plan from ConocoPhillips to drill part of the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska aligns with Biden's pledge to cut U.S. emissions in half by 2030. The Arctic, meanwhile, is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet due to climate change. ConocoPhillips plans to install chillers to refreeze a thawing permafrost to ensure that it's stable enough to support the equipment needed to drill for oil. So, like, oh, they care a lot. Oh,
Mwah,
oh, they care a lot. Yeah,
mwah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way,
That's the using refrigeration to try and refreeze the permafrost so that your trucks can make it across is yeah, that's it's
yeah, drilling for the
it's
oil,
insane.
which they will say will accelerate climate change when burned and result in a further melting of the permafrost. Yeah, no, it's wonderful shit.
But
Um,
it's money now, Chris, and
it is,
I'm
it
guessing
is.
most of those shareholders aren't actually going to experience any of those negative consequences.
No, no, and like I mean, this gets back to the complicated politics of Alaska, and why Murkowski is still a Republican at the end of the day. Although this should frankly be true with a Democrat from Alaska at this point, because
Abs-
yeah,
uh,
I mean, if we're just being, yeah, go ahead.
uh, Gavin Newsom, in spite of all of the everything that California has gone through over the past several years, Gavin Newsom hasn't cut down up until we hit COVID and his recall campaign kicked off, was still signing natural gas leases. Like it's very silly. What our groundwater? We barely have enough water as it is. We're at 60% of the amount of rainfall that we were supposed to get over this past rainy season, and we're gonna risk any of it
with hydraulic
with
fracturing.
hydraulic
Yeah.
fracturing. It's mind blowing.
No, I mean, I remember during the Democratic primaries, which I know many of us are trying to black out, but I remember Andrew Yang got asked about climate change. And Andrew Yang of New York City mayoral fame now these days. But his answer on climate change was move to higher ground, which I actually really appreciated because I thought it was a refreshingly honest
That's yeah,
answer.
no,
It was a
that is literally
refreshingly on.
what
It's unfortunately going to be the reality, but it also tells you exactly what the mindset is of the rich. They're going to
it's
be in the
Texaco's
hills.
Texaco's gonna sell you stilts. Like
Yeah.
it's
And they're going to be living in the hills. So yeah, your house is going to be flooded out. It's going to be another 100 years before their house is unlivable. So they'll be able to live out their whole lives in their house. Yes, your little house down in this neighborhood in New Orleans will be flooded out. Oh, those poor apartment buildings for those people in Florida. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. My heart weeps for them. In California, oh man, all those poor Latinos or whatever down there by the coast. We're up here in the hills. It's fine for us up here. We're more worried about fire than flood. Yeah, like no, that's what it's going to be. Yang was right. I mean, he's not right morally speaking, but he's absolutely right about how this is going to play out practically speaking. The rich class has really embraced a move to higher ground mentality. So yeah, like, look, this project is pushed by Murkowski. She'll probably be able to get it. Actually, I mean, she did get it. This is the price of doing business for from where we sit. Hopefully, this means that Murkowski can be a reliable vote for Biden to be able to pull away from the Republicans here, especially as you have Manchin doing his Joe Manchin thing. Um, it's actually really important because Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema are trying so hard to flex their weight and control the Democratic Party agenda. It's actually very important for the Biden administration to be doing courtship with Murkowski and Mitt Romney. It's not savory. I'm not saying I like it. It's the situation, though, that you're in when you have someone like Joe Manchin or Christian Sinema pissing pissing in the tent, and you need to have 50 votes on deck.
absolutely. I wish. I mean, all of the senators' offices, like everybody's in communication. Everybody's like counting every vote so closely that it would never probably actually come to pass. But to be able to catch Kristen Sinema out on a limb, like to have them go out and say like, oh, we're gonna vote this down and have it still pass in spite of their no votes on something that they really come to regret, like the voting rights thing or the um
God, the 1-6
I mean
commission.
yeah, the 1-6 commission,
Cinema
like
should really be in serious danger at this point of like a primary challenge for not voting on the 1-6 commission.
yeah.
I mean, and I think either the Democrats or the progressives, I mean, really, it's like whoever wants to get the agenda passed. At this point, it really behooves really kind of both camps to start at least building up an alternate Democratic brand in Arizona to kind of put the fear of God into Kristen Sinema that if she doesn't get her shit in order, that she is going to be facing a prime. Like, you want to start making a Beto O'Rourke of Arizona. Someone who could come in there and like actually like energize Arizona and maybe bop off Kristen Sinema. Cause like, all things being equal, having the astronaut as a centrist makes a lot more sense than having Kristen Sinema's brand as the centrist too.
Need a native woman of color who served in like the National Guard or something.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah. Yeah.
in and
No,
just take her to town.
no, yeah, to your point, like a Tammy Duckworth type of candidate would absolutely like, yeah, just
Destroy.
go. Tammy Duckworth would be like, I fight, looks at her legs. What do you do, Christian Cinema? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, be a short debate. It'd be a really no. Cinema would be running that entire election. She'd be hiding Biden during that election for sure. No, but that's what needs to happen. Joe Manchin's a tougher nut to crack. The politics of Virginia are going the other direction. But cinema is actually not really a sore that needs to continue to allow to just fester. Like they can
Yeah,
fix the cinema problem. The Joe Manchin one's tougher. It really, I'll grant that. But that's why you court Murkowski. That's why you court Romney. In the case of Murkowski, if you can basically make her the deal of like, we're just not going to run anyone against you, Lisa. Stay a
yeah.
Republican.
She's yeah,
Yeah.
she's not like
I mean,
they
you
the
should be able to
Republicans
make a
the
really great
Republicans
deal
tried
there.
to get rid of her and she was able to run essentially from the outside against them. Like they're not going to be able to put that number up or those
with
numbers up
with the
again.
Democratic detente, especially if there's an implicit Democratic support for Murkowski, like go ahead and vote for her. It's fine. No, really, don't worry, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that like if you want to talk about 4D chess, like, that's what 4D chess actually looks like. Yeah, it's not nearly as sexy when you see it spelled out like that, but like that's how you do it. How do you deal with the Joe Manchin problem? You go and try to fucking countervail it with Lisa Murkowski on the other side.
Yeah.
So moving on here, Lisa Murkowski, who, oh, by the way, does want to like drill the fuck out of Alaska, and that sucks. Allow me to finish on that note. Um, lab leak. So last year I did an episode on the potentiality that COVID-19 was in the country, and kind of making its way around the planet sooner than the at the time commonly believed threshold of about January. Like there was a belief in March, April, May of last year that COVID-19 really started in January. Um, and there was a lot of evidence and reporting coming out of China that suggested that COVID-19 started. I was seeing stuff that made me believe
Nove-
at least as early as August.
Okay.
Yeah.
The earliest I had previously seen was like late November or October.
Yeah.
Like getting into the fall, I thought there was
The September and
some
October is where
spikes.
stuff really kind of starts to really meaningfully pop up. And yes,
I think that was when it became like detectable in the search engines, like
yes,
people
yes.
searching symptoms.
Flu symptoms and flu searches started popping up. Yes,
it became detectable in that, which I mean that's also like when flu season would kick off, but it was
but they
above like
also
a normal.
yeah, it was beyond. Yeah, it was an order of
Yeah,
magnitude above. Yeah, so I mean, like, look, there's a timeline question here that I think is really important. And the whole lab leak debate pisses me off because like what I really want is a more comprehensive COVID timeline. What did China know and when did they know it? I don't think that to be completely clear here, as I said on that show when we recorded it last year, I do not think China maliciously released a bioweapon into the planet to try to kill everyone or anything like that. I think that China, like many other countries in the world, studies viruses. I think that biotech and bio firms, corporate firms, have viruses and viral strains. They study them all the time. They have facilities where they house these viruses. It is always possible that these germs and viruses can make their way out of these labs. And it is a lot more likely that you would have an outbreak if you had a lab in that area. Because otherwise you wouldn't have those viruses there. Like you wouldn't be importing all these weird viruses if you didn't have a viral lab to import all those viruses to study them in.
sure.
So I mean, to me the only question is that, like, I don't know if it leaked out of the lab or not. I do know that I do feel fairly confident in saying that the Chinese government has really put some serious effort into making it opaque as to what happened in late 2019. That they were pretty opaque with WHO investigators. And they really sort of like dragged their heels on laying the WHO in. And dispositionally speaking, look, no one has ever questioned whether or not the virus originated from China. So it would have behooved China dispositionally to be like, hey, we have nothing to hide here. Come on in and check it out. We want to get to the bottom of it too. Yes, it started here. Maybe it was pangolin. Maybe it was bats. Maybe it was something like we would love to get to the bottom of this. Come on in, check it out. Let's all try to figure this out together. China has taken a much more opaque, secretive, how dare you come into our country? How dare you question our version of events? How dare you? That does reek very much of a I have something to hide demeanor. And I think
Sure,
that
but that
that's a big part of what keeps that, and obviously racism, xenophobia, and other shit. It the racism, the xenophobia, the other shit, I think we kind of have a better handle on that. But I want to note that a big part of it is China's disposition. They are acting like they have something to hide here.
sure, but at the same time, like, never talk to the cops without your lawyer present. Like, I don't know, like a little bit,
Okay, no, so
a little bit.
I'll run with this, but this is more like calling the cops after like you're a drug dealer, you've had your house broken into, and you're calling the cops or something. Like I get,
That's well, no, that is where my mindset is with it, and that like maybe I
but like the cops know is what I'm saying. It's like
it's
it's
a category four. It was a category four biohazard laboratory. Um, it's really like the least likely place that it would accidentally leak out of. Like they're supposed to have the insanely most rigorous procedures. The the chances of it coming out of a category 4 lab accidentally are really low, and
yeah.
the possibility that it was done deliberately is, I think, like short
Because
of
of the
short of somebody like Doctor Strange, like in like a Doctor Strange lovey like state, like the consequences of it being intentionally taken
it
out of
only
there
takes a
are
one
very bad.
Dr. Ripper, though. To your
Yeah,
point, it literally only takes one Jack Ripper. That's the whole point of Strangelove. In addition to just being an amazing movie. But like it when you create a governmental structure like this and you empower a thing like a level 4 biohazard lab, much in the same way as like creating like a place where there's a little red button and you put a dude there whose job is to sit by the little red button. If little red button guy or Dr. Virus goes crazy one day, Dr. Virus can go like, what if I was the liberator? It's not right that we keep these viruses in chains. There's not. Again, that's conjectural, but I'm just saying once you build the level 4 biohazard lab, these are the things that can happen.
yeah, it's
It's a necessary precondition. Yeah.
you're infinitely more likely to be shot in your home if there's a gun in your home.
Yeah, that's that. Yes, it's the buying a gun to keep your house safe,
That's
sort
safe.
of. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's that
yeah,
figure. Like it's essentially Chekhov's gun. Like this is Chekhov's
but
biohazard
but
lab.
these homeowners are yeah, yeah. I my natural, like the tinfoil hat that naturally lives on top of my head, like races through all of that. I just the
I also get disgusted thinking about this or entertaining it too heavily. One, because I think that the evidence needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. Two, because the people who are the most into talking about the lab leak thing are people like I half expect to like drop an anti-Chinese slur, anti-Asian slur
well, that's
on the
I think it's
cash.
I think it's fine for us to be discussing the
I
possibility
think
of a
we're
lab
doing this
leak.
in a pretty
I think
sober-minded way. Yeah.
I think the Wall Street Journal. I don't think the Wall Street Journal needed to entertain that in the same way.
Their news section I didn't have a problem with.
Okay.
I mean their editorial page I'd blow up and shoot into the core of the
Well,
sun. Yeah.
yeah.
But like I I had a bigger problem with news outlets basically polite societying the lab leak hypothesis for the last year here because it was just too rude to ask. Like on some level, like look, you don't want to play into anti-Asian prejudice. You don't want to play into anti-Asian stereotypes. You don't want to play into xenophobia and all of that. And that's fine. I think then if that's what you're concerned about, going back to like our challenge of like dealing with like wanting to do good things, but dealing with bad actors in the world thing, then your job as a journalist is to find a way to thread that needle. Because here's the thing in the 21st century, China is going to be doing malign shit for the entire next 100 years, probably. Whether it involves the Uyghurs in East Xinjiang, whether it involves the Mongols in Inner Mongolia, whether it involves Taiwan, which we're talking about a little later on, whether it involves this, whether it involves copyright trolling. And there needs to be a way and a language with which we can talk about affairs in China that does not like resolve into people going, oh wow, I'm just waiting for him to say the C word, like about these people. No, like there has to be a way to talk about affairs in this country. And the challenge of journalism and the burden of journalists is to do so in a way that like does not promote xenophobia. In the same way that you need to talk about Israel in a way that does not necessarily promote anti-Semitism.
That's, I mean, you have that's it. It's I think it's very difficult to do that with a Republican Party like we have right now. It's very difficult to do that with the way with an Israel lobby like we have right now. Like the one side of a good faith discussion is just being like carpet bombed essentially, like by bad faith actors.
Yeah, no, look, the China thing is particularly frustrating. Well, let's get into it with John Cena in Taiwan here this week. So, John Cena says Taiwan is a country at one point, and then walks it back because every political faction in this country, I mean, really, I basically think like every political faction in this country is struggling with this at this point in terms of like narrative tensions when it comes to Taiwan. Conservatives pounce all over this. Conservatives are immediately like Taiwan's a country, Taiwan's a country. I mean, conservatives are really going all in on this to the point where I'm even like, whoa, okay, bro. Like I saw one dude go, we need to be prepared to have a nuclear war with Taiwan. And then like later on he goes, and also offer them a military base if they want. I was like, okay, if they want a military base, sure. I'm on if they say, "Hey, we would like," yeah, okay.
Has nobody paid attention to like the last like 60 years of proxy wars?
But
Like,
the idea of being willing to go to nuclear war with China and just sort of like
yeah,
cavalierly volunteering that, no, that's moronic. Look, if the tile, I mean, maybe this is just an interesting point of divergence between us, but like my thought on foreign policy stuff is you've got big fish, you got small fish. The game theory of a big fish is different than the game theory of a small fish. And in the case of Taiwan, they have a real tough small fish problem right now where they're in real danger of being eaten by a big fish. And their best bet would be essentially playing A against B to try to stay autonomous. I think the Taiwanese, their best bet for staying autonomous is to tighten relations with the Western world. I mean, obviously the blue sky scenario is that both China and the Western world leave Taiwan alone, but that is also not going to happen. And in no small part because China has absolutely no interest in making that happen. Taiwan,
as
they want to Hong Kongify Taiwan. So
I'm
like Taiwan has tough choices here. Tough, unsavory, second best choices to choose from.
yeah. I mean, uh, it would not surprise me in the next couple decades, like if China just decided to park some aircraft carriers off the coast of Taiwan. If China decided to park some aircraft carriers off the Korean Peninsula and said, "This is ours now," like what's gonna like who's gonna are we going to kill tens of millions of people to say like no?
No,
Like,
this is
like
actually why I think
I don't want
no,
that to happen.
no.
Like
And if
geez,
we
like
if we wait, in my opinion, like if again, this is all
There
premised
will there
on the
will be a
Taiwanese
moment.
asking for this. But yes, there will be a moment where it's too late, like on a Go board, like when you're
I
playing
think
Go.
I think it's already too late because even if we decided like even if we parked aircraft carriers off the coast of Taiwan, like the Chinese could just come out and confront us, and what's like still what's going to happen? Like, are tens of millions going to die to back like that like to back that position?
I mean, no,
It's
it's a
it's
tough question. I mean, but this is a question that societies, like the global
yeah,
society faced 100 years ago, right? I mean, and like looking at the watch, we're in the year 2020. We're looking at all these problems. It seems entirely possible that by the 40s, we will be looking at yet again a very similar problem of you have a major world power that has gone on a massive expansionist project. To your point, all Germany wants is the student land. Is it really worth it for us to make a stand on that? I'm not. I mean, I guess I am sort of comping the Chinese to the Third Reich in that sense. They're going on a big expansionist project, and the question that the Western world, the European world, had kind of at their table is like, all right, when do we make a stand? When does this start actually mattering? Um, I mean, I think I'm of the opinion that really like you do actually have to check expansionist countries. That would include the United States early.
yeah,
Don't let them get off the fucking blocks. So
yeah.
like maybe Taiwan is the place you make a stand because like we bet, and same thing with East Xinjiang because like the first, I mean, I don't think it gets easier 15 years from now.
Yeah. I absolutely. Uh,
But again,
just
by making a stand, I
that
don't
is a
mean
very
going to
that's a
nuclear
very
war.
narrow pathway that needs to be threaded there.
Bro, it is tough. I don't believe in my chats with conservatives who are all muscular about this stuff because I share some of their concerns, some of them, but I always bring up I don't actually believe our system is well equipped for this because frankly Republicans like to sabotage Democrats, so they'd only believe that they could do it.
That and
They would
our
never trust a consistent foreign policy regime to kind of move forward. For as much talk of the deep state as there is, they would be all like you saw what they did with China, where they tried to come in and fuck everything up.
to your exact point, in going back to the COVID origin discussion, China has a completely planned economy. They have a very centralized, very strong centralized, uh, like not a lot of minimal leaks, or I mean stuff still comes out, but if if the coronavirus had started in the US and it was like an accidental leak from a biohazard lab, the Republican and a Republican during a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, the other side would get a hold of that information. It would be public knowledge right away.
It- you score points on each other.
Any
Absolutely.
kind of soft or very cool warm conflict that doesn't like the Chinese, the control that the Chinese have over their economy, and the the not control. I mean the control, not complacency. What's the word I'm looking for?
The command.
The command, but oh,
Well, their command
yeah,
and control economy.
yes, they're the their people will go along much easier than the American people will. Like they were able to crush the
The
coronavirus in their
compliance.
country much
Yeah.
faster. Yeah, the compliance.
Yeah.
That is the word that I'm looking for.
No, no,
Their
no, no. For no,
compliance
no. I mean, like, look, that's an important
gets
Chinese value.
stomped.
Harmony.
Yeah.
They are very, very big on the idea of harmony. It is a key. I mean, it's in the literature. That goes back to Mao. It's still there now,
And
and
I mean it's yeah.
that is absolutely the biggest divergence between the United States and China culturally speaking. Like, I mean, beyond more obvious stuff about like food and language and that shit. It's the prioritization of harmony. America, we sort of necessarily really don't prioritize harmony. Diversity is all about, I mean, actually, like if you look at left literature or whatever, left literature, especially on diversity, has moved away from the melting pot. Left literature and like left understanding of diversity is absolutely anti-harmony. And like a very, very strong, which has actually been one of the weird tensions
Assi-
in seeing some people
assimila-
sort of, yeah,
Assimilation has become like very it's become
toxified as a word.
a dirty word.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Whereas in China, it would be the absolute
That is the
only way. That is it.
Yeah.
And if you are not doing
That is
that,
what
you
is
are,
happening
yeah,
in Xinjiang. Like
yep.
it is, they are being assimilated.
Yes, and same thing with Inner Mongolia.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to assimilate the overwhelming Mongol minority population up there. That's I think like the Mongols like 70% up there. Yeah, and they're trying to assimilate them in. It will be harmonious when everyone is a Han Chinese person. In America, it would literally be like the white people feeling like an onus to essentially breed with every single person who came into the country so as to make like a mirror race, sort of like,
The Beiges.
yes, yeah, right, yeah, something like that. No, it's just it's a totally different series of values. I mean, so real quickly here on the China, we talked about East Xinjiang, we talked about Taiwan, we talked about Inner Mongolia. As I think about foreign policy and stuff, I like in a weird way, I was very glad to see Palestine and Israel pop up in the news, and then this China and Taiwan thing pop up in the news because I think it's really illustrative of like tensions in both right politics and left politics. Right politics, all too happy to hop on to Taiwan as a country and defending the legitimacy and the autonomy of Taiwan from a larger ethno homogenizing nation state that uses a tenuous grasp on history to justify a land annexation. Meanwhile, on our side of the aisle, on the Taiwan discourse, kind of muted. I mean, like if we're being real here, like I mean, they our people didn't really care this week. They don't they our people don't really care about Taiwan. Total night and day difference though, of course, when we're talking about Israel and Palestine. Yet to me, I see a lot of the hallmarks of the same thing. I see an encroaching force using a flimsy usage of history to just,
Colonial legacy.
yep, ethno homogenization. Wanting to take away, like, yeah, taking away democracy in the name of something, bigger and more harmonious, shall we say. Yeah, no, like, the whole thing reeks. I enjoy next time you're talking to your conservative friends, make sure you bring this up. Like, oh, yes, and them on Taiwan. No, yes, I agree on Taiwan. And let's talk
And
now about
yeah,
Palestine. Yeah. No, because here's the other thing too. You can't sit here and go like, I care a lot about Taiwan. I also care a lot about the Uyghurs of East Xinjiang, and yet Palestine just doesn't move me.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like, it's it. No one's quite got their ducks in a row on this one. And so I'm working on it myself, and I want to nudge everyone in the audience, to work on it yourselves, and then nudge others to maybe address some of these shortcomings or myopias in takes as they see them arise. All right, I gotta run here to a lesson here shortly, so we gotta power through this last topic here, which is the 1-6 commission. Long story short, it's not gonna happen right now, at least not in a bipartisan way. Joe Manchin this week said, "I'm not willing to destroy our government. I'm not ready to destroy our government." When he was asked about breaking the filibuster over the 1-6 commission. And he said, I think it's time to come together. I think there's 10 good people. And Joe Manchin was once again demonstrated to be a fucking idiot when they only found 6 good people. Joe Manchin can't count, is really the point on this.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I wish they had gotten, not that I wanted anybody really, not that I would wish anybody to be really imperiled, but had Joe Manchin gotten just a little bit closer to having to do
Do
his
the
fateful
fighting thing that he said that he wanted to do?
bathroom stall or whatever, uh, I think a little bit of fear of God would have helped him in this moment a little bit.
I swear to God, I wish that, like, when he said that, oh, I would have fought them. I'm like, I wish I could have seen that, Joe. I would have liked to have seen you not cry on that day, because I think I know exactly what you'd be doing, you blubbering loser. The vote was 54 in favor, 35 against. Now, you might have just heard me say they got 6 Republicans. What happened, Chris? Well, Patty Murray had like family stuff to deal with, and also like sort of gave up the ghost here that the Democrats didn't even really think this thing was going to pass. Because Patty Murray would have been there if they actually thought it was going to really pass. So like, I know they were like, oh, she had family stuff. I'm like, no, they also knew that this was a showboat. Kirsten Sinema didn't even bother to show. Yeah,
We all have Memorial Day weekend plans, Chris.
I, I hope they find her doing something absolutely obnoxious this Memorial Day weekend. I, and also, please, someone primary her. I will give a real primary challenge to Cinema. I will give money to the same way I like. Yeah, no, we need to be done of her. We need to be done with her real badly. So 73% of Republicans blame left-wing protesters trying to make Trump look bad for the January 6th riot on the Capitol. 23% of Republicans say Trump bears some or a great deal of the blame. So you have to get two categories to get it up to 23%. 23% of Republicans, not the same percentage I'm assuming here, agree that the government, the media, and financial worlds are controlled by a group of Satan-worshipping pedophiles who run a global child sex trafficking operation. That's 23% of Republicans. That sounds weird or like completely unfamiliar. That's what the QAnon conspiracy is. It's QAnon sans QAnon. So like what's actually the most dangerous about the QAnon conspiracy is now people are like, oh, I don't believe in QAnon, but I do believe that there is a cabal of elites who are pedophiling the children like motherfuckers. Epstein! 28% also agree that there's going to be a storm coming true that will sweep away the elites in power and restore the rightful leaders.
I mean, that's got to be a pretty big hurricane, Chris.
Bro, you're gonna, I mean, it's just gonna need to be like, gonna need to go from New York all the way down to Florida. Like it's just gonna have to do the entire eastern seaboard. It's like, start New York, get Cuomo swept up there, maybe go down to DC, pick up like most of everyone. Maybe continue on down to DeSantis and Matt Gaetz down there in Florida, Trump's down there in Mar-a-Lago, and then go off to the Atlantic and just drop all those fuckers off. I'm into that
Sounds like a
hurricane.
plan.
No, bro, whip it up. Dan, let me see this cane. 28% agree that because things have gotten so far off track, true American patriots may have to resort to violence to save our country. Among all Americans, it's fewer than 28% or 20% who agree with these statements. The thing, as a judge warned this week, is that, like, look, there's a steady drumbeat of claims now that Trump has had the election stolen from him. And Judge Amy Berryman Jackson, who you might remember because she was just like all over the show at one point during the Mueller investigation, a lot of stuff just goes through her court. She's really been watching this firsthand and watching the loonies, and I'm sure she's gotten her fair share of hate mail too and stuff too. From like these MAGA chuds. And yeah, she's worried that there's going to be more insurrections. And right now, the Democrats don't really have a plan as to how to move forward. Democratic supporters are basically like, well, see, this shows that the Republicans are hypocrites, to which I say, and I'm sure you agree, I don't think that matters anymore. I don't think that actually gets you anywhere. I think that gets you none points. So the real question here is like, okay, yes, people like you and me have to keep going and voting to keep the people who want to wear Jewish stars on their shirt because they have to wear a mask on the inside. Like we have to go and vote dutifully to keep the wolves out of power. But I would like for the people I vote for as bulwarks to protect society to actually go up there and govern, in addition to just being bulwarks from keeping the worst of society from getting control of the levers of society again.
Agreed, Chris. Agreed.
You had technical difficulties. You were making technical difficulty faces.
Okay. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Agree with that sentiment. It's really hard to advocate for something reasonable when the reasonable people that we elect aren't actually getting shit done.
No, like they're like, I mean, look, again, it's important. It's of value in and of itself to not allow Marjorie Taylor Greene closer to the levers of power. It's of value in and of itself to vote for literally a sponge to replace a corrupt sponge to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's value in that. Obviously, we also all want more than just that, and like just doing that. It it is valuable defensively. You don't want to just injure yourself for no fucking reason. But it's also not enough to move ahead either. The damage mitigation is not damage mitigation and harm prevention is important, but it's also not the same thing as like getting healthy.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my thought.
definitely not proactive.
No, it's not proactive. I have to cut this a little bit short, but God, Murkowski, who's like both a star and a villain throughout the show, did have a fantastic quote this week that she just dropped. That I urge you I urge y'all, if you've got an extra minute, go and like look up her whole interview that she gave after this vote here. I'll read just a little bit. Let me see here. Um Okay. So she's doing this interview and she gets interrupted by her press secretary and basically gets told that she needs to go away, like she needs to not do this. But we're at the end of the interview. Here's the last question. Leader McConnell has made it clear that this is about politics for him. And that, I mean, some of these hard truths that you say could come out in this commission. I mean, his calculus is clearly that those hard truths could negatively affect some of the races for the Republicans in 2022. In your mind, would it be worth having those hard truths, digesting those hard truths at the party of the nation, even if it means you lose Republican seats in the Senate in 2022? Murkowski goes, apparently it's a hard question. Sort of telling you she doesn't think it's a hard question. To be making a decision for the short-term political gain at the expense of understanding and acknowledging what was in front of us on January 6th, I think we need to look critically. Is that really what's going on? Is that really what this is, one election cycle after another? Or are we going to acknowledge that as a country, based on these principles of democracy that we hold so dear? Kind of mangled the inflection there. And one of those values is that we have free and fair elections and that we respect the results of those elections and we allow for the peaceful transition of power. I kind of want that to endure beyond just one election cycle. So there's a lot of focus going on in this commission. Is it going to solve our problems? No. If your question is it going to reveal anything more than we would have gotten otherwise? I don't know. And I guess we'll never know. But isn't that part of the problem that we'll never know? And so if we never know, we'll wonder if we'll keep wandering and if it'll never be resolved. It'll always just be hanging out there. And so isn't it right that we can provide some certainty at some point in time? My view. Apparently, I'm being called back into my office because your questions are too hard. I mean, look, there's something about Lisa Murkowski. Like, she's got a good head. She doesn't always go where I want her to go, but damn it if she doesn't have a good head on her shoulders sometimes.
That was extremely, extremely reasonable. And
Yeah.
her staffer was like, no, you can't do that.
Get back here! No, but I like, and I think
It would have been funny that the old
hook?
the old vaudeville hook just coming out of her office and whoop.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like, look, this quote, the apparently I'm being called back into the office because your questions are too hard, tells you so much about so many different things. One, about what politicians expect the level of confrontation and adversarial relationship with the media to be. Two, what the Republican Party really thinks about this 1-6 commission versus what their stated posture is, where Murkowski sees herself sitting in the, I mean, like, there's so much stuff going on in this interview. If you guys want to, like, really get a sense of, like, what's it really like? Not conjecturally, like this little interview blurb thing, and it's up on my Twitter account too. Go and check it out. Just a lot of good stuff in it. We've reached the end of this program. Dan, any final thoughts before we move on into this dark night?
I think we covered it, Chris.
Okay, cool. So that's going to do it for this episode. Don't worry about the government. Don't worry about the government is a listener-supported podcast. Support me as I deal with Cody's bullshit episode after episode. Whether Cody is or is not on the show, I'm besieged by Cody at all times from multiple different sides. Cody tries to find allies to wield those allies against me. Cody's a nefarious one. If
Like
you enjoy,
his
oh,
new best friend, Mr. Joke.
oh my God, Cody loves Joey Insider. Like those two. Cody came to me the other day. He was like, "Hey, I want to make a Don't Worry About the Government spin-off show called Cody and Joey." And he showed me this like little like how like with the trees like people carve the heart into the tree like when they're really in love with each other. Yeah, like
Mhm.
he drew up one of those. Like
Oh man,
it was gross. It was really gross.
he's got it bad. He's got it real
He's
bad.
got it real bad. So like I guess if the Patreon subs go up, we'll let Cody and Joey get that out there to the people. But if you want to
They can
support me, go
they can
ahead.
also always come on and defend themselves.
They could. They could. They'd have to actually make a booking and a taping. I think it's gonna be a real problem with their podcast. It's gonna be hard for both of them to keep no showing their own show. It's one thing to no show mine. But don't worry about the government is listener supported. Patreon.com/DWATG. You can get the video version of the show there as well. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, on YouTube too. If you want to see old episodes of Don't Worry About the Government, you can search for it on YouTube. Feel free to share clips or whatever. If you think something's like a good take or whatever, go like, I thought that was good. Share it. That's how we get people to find out about the show. People still do wander into this show occasionally, but we want to make it a little easier. And iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify and like corporate podcasts or whatever have actually made that a bit of a challenge. So, anyways, Dan, where can people find you on Twitter?
At DL Carpenter.
And I'm at DWATG, and that's going to do it for this episode. Don't worry about the government. Until the next one, bye bye.